Hello everyone and welcome to this IELTS grammar lesson. First, we are going to listen to someone interviewing Peter about the activities he does in his free time.
Excuse me, I'm conducting a survey on how people spend their free time. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Okay. I'm just waiting for my friends. They're always late, so I should have a few minutes.
Right. Now, can I have your name?
It's Peter. Peter Harley. Harley.
And do you work or are you a student, Peter?
Well, both actually. I'm studying really hard for my exams this month. But I also help my parents out. They own a restaurant and I work there as a waiter in the evenings, so I don't get a lot of free time during the week.
It sounds as if you're very busy.
Yes, I am, and my mom's always saying that I don't help enough in the restaurant.
Great. Now, can you have a look at this list and tell me whether you do any of these activities? And if so, how often?
Sure, okay, well, I love music and I'm learning to play the piano. I get up really early and practice for an hour or so. I practice piano most mornings. I also play the guitar in a band with some other friends.
What about the next thing on the list? Computer games. I assume you're too busy to play them.
Well, I used to play them all the time, but now I'm too busy studying, you know.
And do you use a computer for other things?
I use the internet just about every day for my studies, and I also use it to keep in touch with my friends and family. My cousin is living in Thailand at the moment, and he sends me regular emails to let me know how much fun he's having. He's always visiting exciting places.
Yes, the internet is making it much easier for people to stay in touch with each other. Now, how about team sport?
Actually, I joined the local football team when I was at school, and I still play once a month, provided I can get to training.
What about going to watch live matches?
I'd love to be able to afford to go every week, because I support my local team, but students don't generally have much money, you know. Oh, sorry, I can see my friends. I have to go now.
Thank you for your time.
Now let's look at some of Peter's sentences from the interview. Peter said, I am waiting for my friends. I am studying really hard for my exams this month. My parents own a restaurant. I practice the piano most mornings. I frequently use the internet. My cousin is living in Thailand, and I support my local team. Which sentences are about a situation that is permanent or a fact? Which sentences are about everyday habits? Which sentence is about an action happening at the moment of speaking? And which sentences are about a temporary situation? Please pause the video, read the sentences, and try to answer these questions. As you may have noticed, we're talking about two present tenses in this video: present simple and present continuous. Our first tense is the present simple. Look at this example. I use the internet just about every day. I use the internet tells us that this is a regular habit or a repeated action. This is the first use of present simple, to talk about regular habits or repeated actions. Remember, for this usage, words that show how often or when are normally used. These words include always, generally, normally, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, never, every day, every evening, and so on. So anytime you hear these words, the speaker is probably talking about habits. We also use this tense to talk about permanent situations. For example, my parents own a restaurant. is a permanent situation. But remember, if you want to say how long something has continued, you must use the present perfect. We cannot say, I work there since I was 15. We must say, I have worked there since I was 15. Another usage of present simple is to talk about facts or generally accepted truths. For example, students don't generally have much money is a generally accepted truth. And if you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, it boils. Again, this is a scientific fact. In these sentences, we often use words like generally, mainly, normally, usually, and traditionally. These words, again, show facts, generally accepted truths, or habits. As well as all the mentioned usages, we also use this tense to give directions or instructions, tell stories, and talk about films. For example, when describing a movie, I can say, in the film, the tea lady falls in love with the prime minister. Or when giving instructions, I can say, to start the program, first you click on the icon on the desktop. To make present simple sentences, we start with the subject, then the verb, and then the rest of the sentence. If the subject is he, she, or it, don't forget to add s or es to the verb, like he works. And for the negative form, we use do not or does not plus the main verb. For example, he doesn't work. And for the question form, again, you use do or does. For example, does he work? Our second tense is the present continuous. One of the uses of present continuous is to talk about actions happening at the moment of speaking, now. For example, in the interview, Peter says, I am waiting for my friends. This means right now, at the moment of speaking, he's waiting for his friends. But we also use the present continuous to talk about temporary situations. Like, my cousin is living in Thailand at the moment. It shows that Thailand isn't his permanent home, but at the moment, he's living there. Now, very important. With this use of present continuous, look out for words like at the moment, currently, now, this week, this month, or this year. Remember, when you see the words like often, usually, sometimes, every week, and so on, you would know that the sentence is talking about habits, facts, or generally accepted truths. So you need to use the present simple. But when you see words like at the moment, currently, now, this week, this month, or this year, in most cases, you use the present continuous. Now, here's a different example. I am studying really hard for my exam. This doesn't mean that I'm studying it right in this minute. It means that I'm doing it on and off around this time. You can also use this tense to talk about trends or changing situations. For example, we can say the price of gas is rising dramatically, or the internet is making it easier for people to stay in touch with each other. And the last use of present continuous is to criticize someone or show that you are jealous of them. It shows that something happens more often than expected. Like, my mom's always saying I don't help enough. This means I am complaining and I'm not happy with her words. And when we say he's always visiting exciting places, it shows that I am jealous of him visiting all these places. But if we use the present continuous for things happening right now, why do we say things like, I understand, and that coffee smells good? This is happening now, but we use the present simple. The answer is, some verbs don't take the continuous form. The present continuous is not normally used with state verbs. What are state verbs? State verbs come in 5 different categories, including thoughts, feelings, senses, possession, and description. But why aren't they normally used in the continuous form? Because the meaning of the verb itself is a general truth rather than something temporary. Let's go through some examples of state verbs in the different categories. Category 1 are the verbs that describe thoughts, like agree, assume, believe, disagree, forget, hope, know, regret, remember, suppose, think, and understand. For example, I assume you are too busy to play computer games. The second group are verbs of feeling, like adore, despise, dislike, enjoy, feel, hate, like, love, mind, prefer, and want. Now here are 2 examples. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? I love music. And group 3, they are verbs that describe senses, like feeling, hearing, seeing, smelling, and tasting. For example, the pudding smells delicious. And now let's go to the 4th category, which are the verbs that show possession, like have, own, and belong. Here's an example. My parents own a restaurant. Finally, description verbs such as appear, contain, look like, resemble, see, smell, taste, sound, and weigh. For example, you look like your mother. But remember, some state verbs can be used in the continuous form when the meaning is temporary. Compare these sentences. What are you thinking about? I think you should tell her exactly what happened. Now, in this question, we are asking you about now. But in this sentence, the speaker is giving a general opinion, and it is not a temporary action. That's why the present simple is used. Look at this one. She is having a great time. Students don't generally have much money. Also, when we say she's having a great time, it shows that she's experiencing it right now, and it doesn't show possession. But in this sentence, students don't generally have much money. Have shows possession, so it doesn't take the continuous form. Now that you have learned the different uses of these two tenses, let's look at the sentences from the interview one more time and try to answer these questions. Pause the video, read these sentences, and try to answer these questions. Which sentences are about a situation that is permanent or a fact? These two sentences show a permanent situation. My parents own a restaurant, and I support my local team. These two talk about everyday habits. I practice the piano most mornings. I frequently use the internet. Which sentence is about an action happening at the moment of speaking? This one, I am waiting for my friends, shows that he's doing it at the moment. And which sentences are about a temporary situation? I am studying really hard and my cousin is living in Thailand. Tell us about some temporary actions. Here's a review of everything we have talked about so far. Pause the video and take a look at it. Now look at this extract from an IELTS writing task 1 paper written by a student. There are 3 incorrect verbs. I want you to try to find and correct them. Take a minute to read this, so pause your video, please. The first mistake is this one. As we've mentioned before, see is a state verb that describes a sense, so it must not be in the continuous form, and therefore we must change it to can see. And the verbs increase and decrease in this sentence talk about the changes in a 5-year period. Like we've said before, to write about trends or changing situations, we need to use the continuous form. So increase and decrease would change to is increasing and is decreasing. In IELTS writing task 1, when writing a report about graphs, charts, and tables, there may either be a time reference on the graph or there may not. When you write about a chart or graph that involves time, make sure you use the correct tenses. But when there is no time reference, use the present simple. In this example, you can see that there is a time frame. The years 2009, 2011, and 2013, which refer to a time in the past. Therefore, you must use different past tenses. But in this chart, where we have no time frame, we may simply use the present simple to report it. For describing a process, we usually use the present simple tense. Here's an extract on a process report written by a student. Pause the video, find the incorrect verbs in the extract, and try to correct them. This is a natural process, and to describe this process, we need to state some facts. As you can remember, to write about facts, the present simple is used. These present continuous sentences would change to present simple. Also, in many IELTS writing task 2 questions, the main tense is present simple. Generally, essays will use the present tense because facts are stated. Now, look at a part of an essay and fill in the gaps with the correct form of the verbs. Now answer these IELTS speaking questions using the appropriate tense. If you're watching this as a class activity, answer the questions with your partners in pairs. If you're watching this by yourself, please record your answers to these questions and listen to your recordings to check that you have used the appropriate tenses. The questions you see here are normal IELTS questions that you may be asked. Clearly, you would answer these questions in the present simple tense. But if you try to use both the present simple and the present continuous correctly, you could show your range of grammar to your examiner. I will answer the first question as an example. How much time do you spend with your friends? Now, the sample answer could be, I usually spend most of my time with my friends, but since I am currently studying for my IELTS exam, I do not have enough time to see my friends. Now, I want you to answer the questions either in pairs or record your answers and then listen to see if you've used the correct tenses.